Things have changed. I started hearing whispers about THRAWN's return.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. I hope you're all doing well, and in this video we have official confirmation with an official Star Wars announcement from Star Wars Celebration Day 2 on the THRAWN actor for the AHSOKA show and kind of the overall Mandoverse here as well. Lucasfilm officially confirms that Lars Mikkelsen will also be THRAWN in live action for the AHSOKA show, and as I had mentioned, for the overall Mandoverse here as well. Why is this important? Why does this matter so much to Star Wars fans? This is exactly what we are going to be discussing in this video, so stay tuned for that. Before we hop into it, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're talking about all of the major Star Wars news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel, so if you guys haven't already, join us here on the channel by hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified for all of your Star Wars news. It is currently Star Wars Celebration. There are tons of new announcements and official confirmations, updates, and lots of Star Wars content to look forward on Disney Plus and in the theater. We're talking about it and covering it all here on the channel. I currently have both recap videos, both variations of more detail and more depth, and also shorter videos that are underneath the Shorts tab here on the channel that regard full Star Wars Celebration Day recaps in under a minute. So in case you aren't caught up with all of the new Star Wars Celebration news and announcements, go check those videos out here on the channel. As I had mentioned, why is this important, this overall official casting and an official announcement for THRAWN in live action? Why is this important to Star Wars fans? Why does this matter? As I had mentioned, is exactly what we are going to be discussing in this video. In this video, we are going to be taking a read from the direct article. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. Lars Mikkelsen is not only going to be playing THRAWN in live action, as we know now, officially confirmed at Star Wars Celebration, but he has played THRAWN previously before in the voice acting role for THRAWN in the Star Wars Rebels animated show. As the direct article does read, Star Wars live action THRAWN star has commented on being casted in the AHSOKA show for Disney Plus. The question of who Lucasfilm cast as the fan favorite villain has long been one of the Ahsoka's biggest mysteries and major topics of speculation amongst fans. Of course, this is a topic overall, something that we've been discussing here on the channel time in and time out here for the last 6+ months, maybe even close to a year at this point, on who might be the actor for THRAWN in the Ahsoka show, and it's been a lot of, it's going to be Lars Mikkelsen, it's not going to be Lars Mikkelsen. And so for months, the top rumored candidate was Lars Mikkelsen. However, the actor himself had debunked such claims, disclaiming it, saying that it wasn't going to be him and stuff like that. Of course, kind of hinting at the idea that it would actually be him, and if for anything, him heavily denying and trying to debunk these claims, these rumors, and these like overall fan theories here of him being THRAWN in live action. I think because it shows and it proves that he signed onto some type of NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, of where he's not able to necessarily discuss or talk about anything of such. Anyway, as we do know, finally at Star Wars Celebration's AHSOKA panel, Lucasfilm's THRAWN Star Wars officially confirmed, allowing the actor to finally break his silence on it and address the fans. Grand Admiral THRAWN star talks live-action AHSOKA role. And so, after Lucasfilm has confirmed that Lars Mikkelsen is, in fact, going to be playing Grand Admiral THRAWN in the AHSOKA show, the actor was finally able to talk about his live-action Star Wars role after having it publicly denying it multiple times, as I had mentioned. As shared via Popverse recently interviewing him, Mikkelsen responded to the crowd saying how it's such a wonderful thing to be back and thanking you all so much, to the fans overall as well for the overall support and the wanting him to be THRAWN. I mean, honestly, personally, as a Star Wars fan, I can't necessarily really picture anybody else wanting to take on that role. Mikkelsen, of course, had voiced Grand Admiral THRAWN in the Star Wars Rebels animated series and had recounted how, after finishing up that series, he was asked if he had ever been to LA. And that would have to be to do with anything making his character come to life really in live action. And of course, who had been asking him that question had actually been Dave Filoni himself, saying in full quote from Mikkelsen, "It was obviously we met through Skype. We did all of the sessions on Rebels on Skype, and at some point finishing up that series, Dave Filoni asked me if I had ever been to LA," saying that, ending a quote right there, saying that they two of them haven't ever actually like met up in person or anything like that all that much. And then of course it would be nice to meet the guy for one thing, Dave Filoni, and having Mikkelsen come to face for one thing, but of course also bringing on the idea that Dave Filoni has more plans for THRAWN in store, and has kind of always been planning this like whole Mandoverse thing from the start almost to a point, with all the different Star Wars animated series and shows that he has been working on. Of course, specifically and especially I think and believe for the Star Wars Rebels show, it's always been meant to be something bigger to a point, and something that he always wanted to scale even bigger, bringing it to live action. And of course now what it is now, being a part of the Mandoverse, being one of the biggest like things out there, pop culture icons overall, is really just beyond incredible. Ahsoka has really been described a lot as a Star Wars live action sequel to the Star Wars Rebels show, almost like a season 5 to the show, as a lot of Star Wars fans out there joke about. Of course the show is going to be bringing the entirety of the Ghost crew, with the exception of Kanan, although I do have my fair share of theories on that. And of course also while having Kanan not appear for the obvious reasons of how the Star Wars Rebels show of course concludes there. As the article reads, as for his on-set experience for Ahsoka, Mikkelsen had confessed that he'd never been on set with such passion for the love of what they were doing and for the overall love of Star Wars here overall, saying that in full quote, "I never had been on set with such passion. People are so passionate about bringing this to life for you guys," ending that quote right there. This is honestly something that just about every other actor and actress, cast and crew member have said here about the Ahsoka show. It's just about how loving everybody is on that cast and crew, how like happy everybody is to be there. It doesn't necessarily feel like work, it feels like a dream come true. And then also kind of bringing in that overall thought of like they are very passionate to be bringing this to life overall here as well, knowing that this is something that a lot of Star Wars fans out there are just dying to have here. And well, the time is finally here, guys. Of course the Ahsoka show is going to be coming out a little bit later this year as the next big Star Wars live action show coming to Disney Plus in August. The article continues to read that, saying that Dave Filoni then commented on THRAWN's popularity overall, saying it all starts with Tim Zan's books and how it was so shocking at the time. There wasn't content all of the time like there is today, says Dave Filoni. The Ahsoka showrunner likened THRAWN as a minority and Rommel all in one that was so compelling to read, is what the Dave Filoni says here about the THRAWN books. And so then obviously of course Dave Filoni has mentioned previously before here, and then also kind of reiterated here at recently with Star Wars Celebration as well, of how closely he's going to be working with Tim Zahn and also with the THRAWN books to really nail the character of THRAWN overall. Of course, as if he hadn't already done that in the Star Wars Rebels animated show, but it's a whole different level, honestly, to a point of when you're bringing this character to live action. And I think it also goes to show, and even like teases at that there a little bit as well, that we're going to have a lot of more centric, I think, episodes and scenes and overall storyline and narrative here on THRAWN, and focus him as a very big plot-driven narrative for the overall Ahsoka show here as well. Now, hopefully that isn't to take away from Ahsoka or the rest of the Ghost crew or anything like that, but he is the big bad here, essentially, not only for the Ahsoka show, but from what we also know is the overall Mandoverse here as well. The Book of Boba Fett, Skeleton Crew, all the Mandalorian seasons are all kind of like culminating into one big thing as one big crossover event. This is something that had also been discussed and actually recently confirmed and announced at Star Wars Celebration Day 1, of course, kicking things off very, very hot. As I had mentioned at the beginning of this video, I had recap videos talking and discussing about all of the recent announcements announced at Star Wars Celebration at both of their days. I have 2 different formatted videos as well for you guys to check out there as well. One video recapping all of the events in under a minute, and much more longer videos that kind of go into more detail and into more depth here that you guys can also check out here on the channel. But essentially one of the big major announcements a part of Star Wars Celebration Day 1, in case you haven't already heard and you may be living underneath a rock, 3 new Star Wars movies were announced, and one of those Star Wars movies would to be featuring Dave Filoni as both a director and a writer, focusing on a movie that's set between episodes 6 and 7, being a big culmination Mandalorian, like essentially an Avengers Endgame for what the Mandoverse is to Star Wars. And obviously it has a lot of Star Wars fans out there beyond hyped for what we could see with that movie, but then again, to remind you guys, that is something that honestly is something so far out. We haven't even gotten Ahsoka yet. There's more seasons of The Mandalorian that are on the way that have been confirmed by Jon Favreau, saying that there is going to be a season 4 of The Mandalorian. We also have the Star Wars Skeleton Crew, Rangers of the New Republic, if and when that show ever gets off the ground. And then even then, Dave Filoni had recently teased in a recent interview, something that we had recently covered here on the channel, saying that even if there was like a Mandalorian movie that kind of had quote-unquote culminated everything and brought all the Mandoverse events together into one big conclusion to a point, they would still love to do more Mandalorian stories, more Mandalorian seasons, specifically taking place even after those events as a big possibility. Anyway, as the article continues to read, saying that lastly, Dave Filoni had confirmed that he did speak with the writer of those Thrawn books, Timothy Zahn, about bringing Thrawn to live action, confessing that we want to make sure that we get it right, he says. And as I had mentioned a little bit earlier on, this is exactly what I had said, is that he's working very closely with the overall writer and kind of creator of Thrawn as an overall character here to make sure that they're nailing this character perfectly on. As I had also mentioned, as they hadn't kind of already done that with the Star Wars Rebels animated show, they definitely want to get it right when it comes to live action, and kind of also showing the fact that Thrawn's going to be a much more prominent character in the Ahsoka show than compared to maybe the Star Wars Rebels animated show. Now, of course, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What do you guys think here about Thrawn appearing in live action for one thing, having him as the big bad villain of the Mandoverse and for the Ahsoka show here as well, Lars Mikkelsen and his official confirmation as to being Thrawn in live action and in the Ahsoka show here as well. I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And so, of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you. Peace out.